Welcome back to NBA Cinema. So we have Emmanuel Acho going on television today, ripping Luka Doncic for his defense and some of his complaining and bad habits that have been talked about over the last few days and weeks since the trade. Now, Luka has played in two games with the Los Angeles Lakers. First game against Utah, and second game actually against Utah. One was at home, one was on the road, and they got smacked that second game versus Utah, and there's a few plays that people are pointing to as, Luka, he is coming back from injury, but those bad habits as far as the defensive end of the court, I'm going to show you one right here before I continue. Let's peep.
More creative than Jordan Clarkson, just does a nice job in finding Kessler.
So instead of getting back on the defensive end of the court after a turnover, he throws his arms up in the air and looks for the nearest official. Now, you initiated that contact. They didn't blow the whistle that time. Get back, and if you have a complaint when the ball is dead, or if you get back, commit a foul, don't give up an easy two, that is the time to berate the ref if you must. We're going to get into what Emmanuel Acho said before the trade and what he said recently on the facility. Let's check it out.
Wow, I'm at a loss for words. As a Dallas native, I can truly say this was one of the biggest mistakes in the history of the Mavericks franchise. You just traded a 25-year-old Luka Doncic in his prime, a five-time first-team All-NBA player in 6 years, mind you. You just traded a player that is one of the greatest catalysts for winning of the generation. He carried the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals last year. He brought the Mavericks back out from the depths of the pits of the grave after the absence of Dirk Nowitzki. They traded a player who was second in threes to only Steph Curry last year with 284. They traded away a player who was the only player in the history of the National Basketball Association to average 33 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. That's who they traded away. Number two, they did him dirty. Think about this for a second. Luka Doncic is no longer eligible for the Supermax, a 5-year, $345 million deal. Why? Because you can only get the Supermax by the team that drafted you or a team that acquires you if they acquire you within the first 4 years of your deal. Luka Doncic is going on year 7. Keep in mind, a Supermax deal in Texas where there is no state tax. Imagine how many millions of dollars Luka Doncic lost out on.
Hey, now there's an issue. The defense. They had their second worst defensive performance in the second game that Luka showed up. That's an issue because everybody said, hey, watch out, Luka's a defensive liability. Is it coincidence, is it causation, or is it correlation that the second Luka shows up, the Lakers have their second worst defensive performance of the season? The Utah Jazz have their fourth highest offensive output of the season, the second Luka shows up. Luka, he's a lazy defender. That's what they told me at the desk. That's what you told me at home. And you were right. How you get 5 fouls in 2.5 quarters? And lazy fouls. These weren't like effort fouls. These weren't tenacious fouls. These were lazy fouls. They told me, hey, sometimes Luka can be lackadaisical with the ball. That's what he was doing, sloppy turnovers. So everything that the people, the brilliant minds at this desk told me to worry about, everything that you at home told me to worry about, it all came up. Shady's right. It's a February loss. Normally, I wouldn't worry about February losses, but the lack of a big was an issue. The defense, it was an issue. Luka being lazy, it was an issue. Every issue that y'all said, hey, Acho, be mindful of, it showed its ugly face just yesterday.
So with this Lakers team, I think when LeBron and Luka's clicking on all cylinders, it'll look really good, and you'll be able to beat anybody on any given night. And also Austin Reeves when he brings it. But when a team is young and energized and shots aren't falling and they're getting up and down, they're scrappy on the defensive end, they get inside Luka's head. We've seen him rip jerseys before in Dallas. We've seen him complain to the officials and try to start to bait calls to make the refs blow the whistle, and it'll be several times in a row where they'll swallow the whistle because they know that Luka is trying to embellish. He get really upset about that and kind of get taken out of his game. Now, he did go to the finals last year, and when Luka has it going and he's just hooping, he's a problem to deal with. But many feel like his conditioning, some of his habits, and his reliability of being effective is always predicated upon the ball being in his hands. We don't ever really look at Luka and say, man, Luka got those two key defensive stops late in the game. I'm pretty sure you could find maybe one or two clips, but I'm just saying overall we don't look back and say like when LeBron was younger, we could say, man, when he switched on Derrick Rose when he was with Miami, he really made a difference in helping slow D Rose down in that series. We can't say nothing like that about Luka defensively, or just his effort being the reason that you get over the hump. It's really more so about his offensive brilliance when the ball is in his hands. So even that takes away from certain players who is able to offer more to a team. For instance, someone like Kristaps Porzingis, when he was there, he played better the games Luka was out. We saw Jalen Brunson emerge as a guy in that Utah series when Luka was out. And even during the regular season games where Luka was out, Jalen Brunson would step up, and we see who he is now. Kyrie Irving. At first, you could understand kind of why they weren't working together because of when the trade happened before the deadline that first season. But the second season, they go to the NBA Finals, and Kyrie is able to do really well. And Kyrie didn't show up in some of those games. But you can attribute some of that to the amount of time Luka has the ball in his hand. So I say all that to say Luka is going to have to learn how to impact games more and more, right? AD got injured first game, and so it's like, okay. But if AD would have continued to play at that level he started out in that game, and you looking at some of the things that's going on with Luka, we need a bigger sample size, but people would start to warm up a little bit more to AD if he was able to be healthy. I think that is the problem with the Dallas trade. But the basketball, when I look at Luka Doncic, I say all that to say as this thing goes on longer and longer, he's going to be under the bigger microscope, not Anthony Davis. And for one, he plays for the Los Angeles Lakers, but two, he's looked at as the guy to take the torch from LeBron James. Will he ever need to be what LeBron James was in his prime on the defensive end of the floor? Absolutely not. But will he need to be solid where he's not a liability to his team, where they aren't hunting him, where he isn't caught with his head, turned away from the defense, they hitting guys for backdoor cuts all the time. So much film of him just falling asleep on defense, not giving effort, crying to not get back down on the other end of the floor, which many believe is a lack of conditioning. A lot of times you complain to the ref because you're tired. You don't want to run back to the other end of the court and put forth the effort that is necessary. And so Nico Harrison, if this persists, and Luka, I don't know if he's still injured or, he's just not in shape or he just doesn't care about the defensive end of the floor or a combination of all three of those things. But as time goes on, I'm telling you, the Mavs fans are mad now, so he's getting a pass. But time reveals all things. And if he is not giving effort on the defensive end, the Los Angeles fans will eventually boo him down the line. If his effort is the reason they're losing games, especially after the LeBron James era. So I would caution Luka, still a young player, but I would tell him to put forth more effort. You don't have to be a great defender, but it can't be you not trying. It can't be you not trying because when LeBron leaves, man, all the attention is on you. And that's what I will say. Acho, I just wanted to show his change of heart, though, after seeing Luka. We'll see. We'll see how this thing goes. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.